Okay, I'm on the Marietta bathroom. This bathroom has very thick buildup on this bathroom floor. You could just tell by the transition piece here, this marble transition piece. You know, you got this is a plain builder's grade 8-inch tile, but below it is a bunch of concrete and then some wire mesh that goes down probably about 2 inches or so. So this is a lot of weight on this bathroom floor. Just very large bathroom floor. Fortunately, they did the floor after they set the vanity, so the tile only goes up to the edge of the vanity. We're not having to worry about trying to, you know, take out all the tile from under the vanity. Vanities are going to stay, both of them on the right side and the left side are staying, as well as the tub. This is that fake marble type of tub that I've taken out many times, but in this case, customer is keeping this tub. And then the toilet closet area, they have a bidet, which is electric type bidet, which I have not seen before. I'm familiar with bidets, but not this type. So we're going to pull that out and of course replace that with the same one. We're not changing that out, but all this tile and the quarter round, all that stuff is coming out. The shower is the main focus here. Now this floor won't get done for about another 3 weeks. The tile is not coming in. This will be 9 by, I think it's a 9 by 14 tile that is going to be staggered, and I forget what color it is, but it's not going to match the shower. I think it's a brown, light brown or something. Anyway, that tile is on order, so the floor won't get done before the shower is, which is okay. You know, I'll do the shower first, and when this comes in I'll do that. Anyway, the shower had a bunch of issues. The homeowner came in, the curb was falling apart, the tile was coming off the curb, plus they had some loose tile in the very back of the shower where you can see the homeowner took out the tile. What he ran into there was very typical of a shower that gets a lot of saturation of water over time. This is my last video I showed. He ran into a pile of sand. Now, mortar mix is basically, you know, Portland cement without the rocks, and it has adhesion factors that detract from all the water saturation over years and years. This house is pushing 20 years old, if not better, and so you have builder's grade ceramic tile on the shower floor, which is really stupid. And of course, you know, all the grout lines that you have here lends itself to water penetration. So the water penetrated into this pan, stayed here long enough to actually turn that mortar mix to sand, and that's when he got concerned. He did some of the tear out. Obviously he took the curb out. I wish he hadn't, because I wanted to see what damage there was, but look at all the damage on the wood. This is probably 3/4 inch ply subfloor, and it's just falling apart, literally falling apart. And this was a 2x4, although it looks like, you know, I just went out and chopped a tree, and you know, look, you even got a tree knot right there. So this was a 2x4 at that point. It got rotted out on both sides. So the curb definitely had issues before he took it off. It would have been nice to see what issues there were, although I'm sure, because it's all ceramic tile, that it wasn't sloped and water sat on it, and you had grout lines that just lend itself to water penetration. So that's a big problem. But as I came in here to give the estimate a while back, what I realized, amongst other things that weren't done correctly, this pan liner, if you notice, this pan liner was actually cut right there at the bottom. The very bottom, it was cut, and this part was wrapped around to the back, and this part flipped over there. Now, whether it was glued or not, and it doesn't appear that it was ever glued, I don't think it was. There's a nail there holding up that flap. But whether it was glued or not, you never cut a pan liner, especially down to where the pan's going to be poured. That's just idiotic. So the fact that they folded the pan liner on itself was correct, but then they went ahead and cut it anyway down here at the bottom of the pan, and that's just really stupid. They did the same thing over here. They actually folded this, but then they cut, I don't know, the homeowner says this was never cut before, that when he pulled out the wall, that was the way it was, which is hard to believe. but look at that. The cut's all the way down to the pan right here that this flap went over the curb at one point. Of course, it never went over the curb. It went up, you know, 1.5 inches over the curb. It never got wrapped, which is another problem. Anyway, get back over to this side. You know, they turned this flap. I think this is the only corner they didn't cut. This was contiguous, but that corner got cut as well. So this little flap got turned on that flap and it was cut. It was cut down at the bottom here and cut over here. So there's a lot of issues here. And the wood rot that you have between the outside of the house and down here is just enormous. I mean, this is also the ply subfloor, and it's as if, you know, there was a fire. I mean, it looks like it was burnt. This 2x4 down here really doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's gone from this point here all the way across, and all you see is the subfloor that's rotted. This 2x4 is intact, but it's rotted, and then it gets better as you go back here. So what I'm anticipating, or what I already know, is I have a lot of subfloor to replace amongst all the other issues that I'm going to find once this is out. And this is one of these enclosed showers, so the door opening is only 24 inches after everything is put in, and the customer wants a larger door opening, so I'm going to take this wall probably up to about this point right here, right next to the vanity, and get myself about another 8 inches of this opening, and we'll leave that top there. But we are going to put a fan. There is no fan up here, so there will be a fan eventually installed in here. There's not going to be tile. There was tile at the top of here. We're not going to retile that on the ceiling. There's no point, especially with the fan going in. So these walls will get put back in place. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the customer wants the shower fixture put over on that wall. So that's where the shower head will be. If I'm not mistaken, also they're going to have a shower head over here and a body spray over here. So there'll be a diverter. Ultimately, there'll be a diverter here, and then the control will be over here as well. My bad. The diverter and the control will be here, and the shower head will be there, and the sprayer, I believe. Anyway, it will all come in to play once I get started on the rebuild, and it will be tiled up with another white tile, a larger tile. I think it's going to be staggered, and that's what we're doing on the shower. Now, once the shower is built, then I'll get back to the floor, and then that'll be the end of the job. So I don't think I'm going to do a mid-video. The damage that you're looking at right now is pretty obvious without the tile taken up. If it gets any worse, then I will start it back up again. Otherwise, I'll restart the video once we're finished. So I'm going to get started on the tear out. Okay, a week later, I am basically done with this bathroom. As you noticed before, I had 8x8 diagonal ceramic tile on this floor. All that came out. That was pretty good chunk of subfloor that came with it. I think it weighed about 1,600 pounds altogether, minus the shower pan that I took out. Probably that's another 100 pounds or so, maybe a little bit more. But this here weighed over 1,000 pounds getting this out. What you see now is Durarock that I put down in preparation for the floor tile, which I don't have yet. I'll have that next week. And I thought it was going to be brown 9x18. It's going to be 12x18 actually, and it's going to be gray. So that will be staggered along here, and staggered meaning a brick pattern. So it will just go this direction and staggered all the way on the floor. As I told you before, nothing's really getting done in there except resetting the toilet. Nothing got done with the vanities or anything. The painter has since been in here and stripped off all the wallpaper. So he's going to be painting all these walls in here eventually, and that's why there's kind of a mess going on. My part was the shower. So if you noticed before, again, I had 8x8 tile on this. There was a lot of wood rot down here at the curb area. Everything got taken out. I basically replaced probably 90% of this subfloor because it was so rotted. Obviously the 2x4s on the end here got replaced. Excuse me, this side got brought out. It was a I think it was a 24 or 28 inch open. No, it was a 24 inch opening before. The customer wanted a larger opening, and now it's 30 from end to end, just right at 30. And of course, you know, nothing really happened up there except replacing wood and putting everything back properly. As I said, probably 90% of the subfloor, 3/4 ply, got replaced because it was so rotted out, including that back area where it backs up to the outside wall. That was really, really bad back in this area. So that's what I did. I did all the prep work. I poured the shower pan. I put this tile down. This is a tumbled marble 2x2. So this is what the customer wanted because the gray tile, remember, is going to be on here, so it's going to be matching up with all this gray going on. And this is actually ceramic, believe it or not. Let's see if I can get a good shot of it. This is ceramic tile, but has this little gray pattern and everything. You might think that it's marble at first look, or porcelain, but it's a very, very light ceramic. And when I first opened the boxes, I really didn't care for it because I don't like ceramic tile. You know, it's just glazed clay basically, and it was real light and everything. It was easy to work with. But as I got into it, I realized it wasn't a cheesy ceramic. It actually set pretty good. The lines on the tile, as I've told you before in other videos, really matched up well. It was a well-honed tile, so it was fairly easy to put in. And it got put in all the way up to the ceiling. If you recall, there was no fan before, so well, I think the light fixture was over there. So I changed out the light fixture and put in a light fan combo. So it's real quiet if you can hear it. That's on. I forgot what the CFM is on it, but it's got a 6-inch opening, and that's pretty large. Most of them are 4-inch. So I think the reason it's so quiet is because it's moving the same amount of air through a larger opening, and therefore it doesn't need to be as noisy. But anyway, this is what I do on almost every bathroom that I do. I do a niche. This is about 30 inches across, I believe, by about 12 high, just because shampoo bottles are generally no higher than 12 inches. The back cuts that I do on the inside tile, I've always done those. I always take the floor tile if I can, do, you know, 4x4. In this case, I think it was 2, 4, 3 there, so there's 6x6 actually, back cut, and then I just put that in the center on a diagonal just to spruce it up a little bit. They were real lucky to get this this trim, which is a real nice trim. It's very expensive, but it matches up to the tile pretty well, so I was able to trim that out. On the outside here, there's not going to be any trim. Normally I take that same trim and put it on the outside all the way around. They chose, there is a wood molding on these doors that's a very nice wood molding. It's about a 3-inch strip, and what the painter is going to do is eventually on the outside of this wall, he's going to put that same 3-inch strip all the way around. So they'll save a little bit of money on that. But it's a nice little touch that I always like to do with the frame outs as opposed to, you know, a bullnose. In fact, they got bullnose, but I ended up using on the inside instead of the outside. So the bullnose really made a finishing touch nice for the inside of the walls here, where it's just nice and smooth and round on the edge. Of course, the bullnose is the same match for the tile. They got a soap dish they wanted me to put in, so I went ahead and put that in. Not too crazy about them. Generally speaking, they stay wet. This one's a little bit at an angle, so hopefully the water comes off. I always do my niches at a definite angle, so even if you put soap up here, it's not going to get all soggy. Okay, so the shower head didn't get moved actually. If you remember, the shower fixture used to be here along with the head on top. What they wanted was they wanted a body spray, which I installed here, and this is a diverter mixer. So this is a temperature control, and this is a diverter. And this is also the volume control, because there's no on and off on this. You don't turn this. This handle doesn't do anything except control the temperature. So in other words, if you're turning it to the right, which right is always cold, then it's going to be cold. If you turn it to the center, it's basically a warm mix. If you push this button on the side, there's no way you will turn it without that button being pushed. Let me show you. See the click? So if you actually push a button, or maybe it goes the other way, yeah, it goes the other way, then it will actually give you real hot water, 100 plus, it says it right there. So That's an anti-scald device, I guess, built in there for kids and stuff like that. Anyway, getting back to here, the body spray got installed through the wall and all the plumbing got done. I got real lucky in a sense that I had, even though it was 1/2-inch pipe, the 3/4 pipe that actually feeds the shower was right below this floor here. So my customer saw the 3/4 pipe, both the hot and the cold, and he wanted the transition, instead of to the 1/2-inch that it went all the way this distance, he wanted the 3/4 pipe with the supply line also being 3/4 all the way. So I took out the 1/2-inch completely and I put in 3/4 hot and cold going all the way up the wall there, and the transition didn't get made at all with this fixture because it is a 3/4 fixture. So it's 3/4 going straight in with the hot and the cold, and 3/4 going out to that shower head, and 3/4 going out to the sprayer, and the transition to 1/2-inch doesn't get made until you get right back in the wall there. So the volume will be really good on this. And then of course I took this other pipe that goes down from the bottom, put it under the floor. I think there's 4 or 5 joists that I had to go through. Brought that up all the way here for the shower head. So what we have is basically, in essence, 2 shower heads. This is not the head that goes with it. My customer has not found a brass head that he likes, so I have one of these old ones that are kind of messed up, but from another bathroom that I did, and I just kind of put that on there in the time being so I could test it. So basically, let me show you. As I said, this is not volume control. This is temperature control, and this is both volume and diverter. So if I turn it on to the left, where it says number 1, you have this shower head that runs. If I turn it to the right, that's off. And if I turn it to the right, you have this one that runs. And of course, if it ran properly, it would have the head on there, which it doesn't, so it's a straight stream of water. And then if I turn it all the way to the bottom, you end up with both. You end up with a straight stream of water and the shower head. So, let's turn this off. So it's, it's a nice setup. I like it. I think they had wanted to do body sprays to start with, but then they backed off of the body sprays and decided to do this. Eventually, when he gets the head for this proper head, that will go on there instead. It will also have a bar that will be attached somewhere in this back corner over here. These bars are usually about 2 feet long, and the head will this head will actually sit on that bar, and it'll be able to slide up and down and turn left and right and everything. So he doesn't have the head yet, he doesn't have the bar, but eventually he said he could handle putting the bar on, and of course the head you just screw off right here. So for all intents and purposes, I'm done. This shower is finished anyway, and it's functional. And all I have to do left is the floor, and that'll happen sometime next week. So I probably won't do a video again because, usually what I try and show is the showers and the bad jobs that have been done on them, and the floor is really incidental for me. But that's all I have on this one, so I'm out of here and on to the next job.